Hello, Mr. Collier here. This is Lab 5C, Gravity and Falling Objects. The purpose of this lab is to drop some different objects of different masses through the photogates and calculate the acceleration due to gravity. So we already know that the acceleration due to gravity should be 9.8 meters per second squared. And we're going to use this lab to verify that and calculate any error that we might have. First, let me talk about the setup for this lab. We are going to use this little dropper kit. There's a catcher at the bottom, which has the hole in it, and there is the dropper at the top, which has a little lever on it. I have them set up at holes 1 and 8, and then what I have is the photogates set up at hole 4 and 6. And I find that this setup works best for our data, but you want to just make sure that the photogates are pushed all the way against the pole, they're parallel to each other, and they're ready to go. Also, don't forget A at the top, B at the bottom. Make sure they're plugged into the right spot. So here on the data collector, we're going to be in CPO timer mode, just like we used for all of our ramp labs, which will give us an A time, a B time, and an AB time. So what we can determine is how fast the marble is going across the A photogate, how fast it's going across the B photogate, and then how long it takes it to accelerate between them. With that, we can figure out the acceleration of the marbles. The last thing I want to talk about in this first part is some tips for you to successfully do this. The thing is, it's very important for the marble to pass directly through the center of the photogate sensor. And the best way to do that is to get some really consistent drops. So you're going to need some practice. This is not a one drop and you have all the best data. So what I recommend is putting it in the dropper, and you want it to be just barely in there. So it's actually kind of hanging over the edge. And then when you go to release, you don't want to just squeeze the whole thing. You basically want to push it as lightly as you possibly can to get it to release. Like so. I barely touched it and it fell out. And something else you want to listen for is how it lands at the bottom. So what you really want it to do is go through that hole and land without touching the sides at all. If you hear it has hit the sides, it's one of two things. One, it didn't fall straight, or two, they're not properly lined up. So you want to kind of adjust and practice until you can get to a spot where you're comfortable that the marble falls directly into the hole. Once you've done that, you've dropped it a few times and you're seeing that your data is consistent, you are going to start recording it on the data table. In the next video, I'm going to show you on the data table and on the photogate timer some actual data.